Emerson Mnangagwa, the great champion of democracy, or so he would have you believe. Not to unite a nation in turmoil, not to inspire hope, and certainly not to address the collapsing economy or the staggering corruption suffocating Zimbabweans. No. The man had more pressing matters at hand, issuing thinly veiled threats against anyone daring to question his reign. Apparently, the biggest problem in Zimbabwe isn't poverty or joblessness or a healthcare system on life support. It's little boys making noise. He said it like he is the god of the Anunnakis. Yes, you heard that right. In a country where the government can't keep the lights on, the real danger, according to Mnangagwa, is people daring to have opinions. Let's listen to his rants.
We will not stop our development plans and programs because of the noise from some little boys. They will continue making that noise, but we shall continue to move on. But I warn anybody who may want to be nonsensical and bring chaos in this country, we are ready for any chaos, to deal with any chaos. Whoever who preach hate speech shall be responsible for their hate speech. Our prisons are not full. We want peace. We want unity. Those who do not disagree with that, do so quietly and peacefully. Then, tichafamba tose murugare nokuirana. Asukata mesha mkono tinokuveza.
And so, in his usual dictatorial fashion, he made it clear that opposition, no matter how peaceful, will be met with state-sponsored brutality. This is a gear up, dear friends. This is a gear up from banning vendors. This is a gear up from introducing hard tax, from introducing bicycle taxes, from trying to milk every cent out of the people. This is a gear up. Those who dare to speak out, well, his people are ready, so he says. Ready for what you may ask. If history is anything to go by, ready to deploy abductions, torture, and outright murder. After all, this is the same regime that saw Itai Dzamara vanish into thin air. The same regime that saw Pastor Messiah butchered for daring to think differently. And now, Watson Munyaka, beaten senseless and thrown out of a moving fortune like garbage, because in Mnangagwa's Zimbabwe, disagreeing with the president isn't just a political stance. It's a death sentence. Let's hear more details about the death of Watson Munyaka from one of his colleagues, Maynard Manyoa.
Hello everyone. It is with a very heavy and sad heart that I announce to you that a very big player, a very big part of us here at Dagup, Watson Munyaka, otherwise known by most people as Watson Flex Munyaka or Watson Aftermath, tragically died in Zimbabwe today. Our understanding is that Watson was taken against his will by people that we do not know, and those people traveled with him to Marondera. It was in Marondera that he was chucked out of a moving Toyota Fortuner, that is what we've been told, or a car of that similar nature. He was tossed out of the car, clinging onto life, and unfortunately he passed away. We understand he received medical help a little bit late. He was then taken to Marondera Hospital. The people at the hospital confirmed to us that he was in possession of his gadgets, 2 iPhone 16s. He was in possession of his work documents and some monetary value. None of his gadgets were taken. So we understand and we believe the motive for that was not robbery and may have been something else. Watson and I go quite a long way. I think in August of 2024, I wrote quite a long post as part of my own personal series of Give Them Their Flowers While They Were Alive. I personally didn't anticipate that we would get to this or that. That was, a sign that things would go that way. He was both a brother and a colleague. I began working with him when I was still running Kuluma Africa, which was an investigative journalism platform offering occasional incisional analysis. During the course of my work with Watson at Kuluma, we went through quite a lot of things together, including physical harm and physical danger. He maintained or continued to work with me within the back scene and in the background. And when we started Dug Up, he was both a researcher and both a reporter on the ground, oftentimes being the go-to person when we need to verify anything locally and running a lot of our errands. As you know, Dug Up is a network of journalists that collaborate. It is not necessarily owned by a person. We all work together to produce, content or to produce investigative journalism. So he was still a very huge part of Dug Up. There were investigations that we were conducting with him. As I said, on a personal level, to me, Watson became like a brother. In fact, he became a brother long before we found our blood connection. Watson and I had existed as brothers. He was a very huge mainstay in my family, traveling to funerals, events, weddings, and so forth. When I got married, he was my best man. That is how close we were. And a lot of people have inundated me and inundated us with messages asking for details. As far as we know, he passed away. The circumstances are not natural. We have a reason to believe that this may have had something to do with his work or his work with us, because, like I said, we are told by the people at the hospital that his possessions were intact, including his cell phone, which when they recovered had me as the emergency contact card and his girlfriend, Diana. So it's a very difficult video to make, and Watson was a great guy. He was a friend to many. He had a very interesting personality. The Watson online and the Watson we knew were different, but he knew his stuff when it came to technology. He knew his stuff when it came to gadgets. He played a significant role in teaching me about cameras all the way back in 2017 when I needed to attend a Google conference in Nairobi in Kenya. And his death is both painful and shocking. I think I've personally been in a daze since I found out. I think the manner and the circumstances make it all the more alarming, especially given our suspicions that it may have something to do with his work. We are hoping that police conduct a swift investigation, that they're able to find out who, what, and when has happened, and that out of that, whoever has done this to him can be brought to justice. It's when we do these investigations, we know and we understand the dangers. I think on the 9th of March, we released a video about Itai Dzamara. He has still not returned. So we know what we face when we engage in investigative journalism. But when things then do happen as they have, it does send chills down the spine. This is a person we were in contact with mere hours prior. And he is no longer here. But yeah, so that was the quick video that we needed to just update with you guys. That a huge part of Dug Up, our reporter or slash researcher, our boot on the ground, Watson Flex Munyaka, has been murdered in Zimbabwe. And I think we're all in a daze, we're all at pains about where do we even start and where do we go from here. We still do have other reporters on the ground, so that means we are extremely worried and concerned about what is transpiring. And we hope that the police, famous for being able to solve murder cases, can solve this one at speed, so that more than anything, for the sake of his young child, we're able to get closure, and for the sake of us, his family, who he loved dearly and who he continued. He ran a business in town, selling mobile phones, selling laptops, doing tech gadgets, cameras. That was by day, and on the other side, he helped us do the digging. So thank you very much for watching the video, and it's a very difficult moment for us. To Watson, from me, you'll always be my brother. You know that. You're the best man at my wedding. I love you deeply. And yeah, I'll always love you more. And hopefully we get answers. And this is not where it was supposed to go when we spoke about the flowers, and thanking you for the role that you personally played in my life. Your impact at Dagab will be missed. The amount of times you help us with verification, making phone calls, checking financial transactions. It still feels extremely difficult to speak of you in the past tense. So thanks everyone, and cheers.
And let's talk about the sheer absurdity of it all. Here is a man who clings to power like a drowning man clutching a straw, running a government that's as effective as a broken wheelbarrow. Yet somehow he believes he can scare the people into submission. Maybe he forgot that fear only works when people actually have something left to lose. And Zimbabweans, they've been robbed of everything: livelihoods, dignity, basic human rights. At this point, the only thing left is defiance, and no amount of mafia-style threats can change that. But let's not ignore the real message here. Mnangagwa's little speech wasn't just for the general public. It was a loud and clear instruction to his foot soldiers. The thugs in ZANU-PF and the corrupt police, the state-sponsored militia, the assassins hiding behind law enforcement, the border gazis. It was his way of saying, go ahead, do what you do best. Beat them, abduct them, silence them. I'll make sure you never ever have to see the inside of a courtroom. And like clockwork, they got the message. Watson Munyaka's battered body is proof of that. His only crime, daring to question the untouchable. His fate, a brutal reminder that in Zimbabwe, justice isn't just blind. It's 6 feet under. Dead. And just when you think the hypocrisy couldn't get any thicker, Mnangagwa throws in his usual nonsense about wanting peace and unity. Unity? With who? Peace? With the same people being gunned down, jailed and exiled. With the same people you are telling the prisons are not full. That's like a bank robber promising financial stability right after emptying the vaults. If he really wanted peace, he would start by disbanding his army of political hitmen, and maybe, just maybe, letting people express their views without fearing for their lives. But of course that's not going to happen, because in his world, unity simply means silence. The sad truth is, Mnangagwa isn't leading a government. He's running a crime syndicate with all the finesse of a second-rate mob boss. The only difference between him and the thugs running the street gangs is that he wears a presidential sash while doing it. But the problem with ruling through fear is that it doesn't last forever. The same people he mocks today, the same voices he tries to silence, will one day be the ones writing his final chapter. And when that day comes, no amount of empty prisons or hired goons will be able to save him. So Zimbabweans, the question isn't whether Mnangagwa will stop, because we all know he won't. The question is, when do we decide enough is enough? How many more Watson Munyakas must die before we stop being afraid and start demanding accountability? The man wants silence, but let's give him something even scarier. Our voices. Subscribe to Zimwaves TV. Stay informed, and most importantly, never let those thugs rewrite history.